and I've lived in a boarding house until I was 20 and went in the army. And I made a decision very young in life, I didn't want to stay broke, right? And I didn't want to bring my kids up the same way. And I've made a lot of mistakes over the time. I've been broke twice. You bite off more than you can chew sometimes and discover you can't swallow it. But when you know how to make it, it's just a matter of get off your backside and make it happen again. The thing that frustrates me, I see an awful lot of people that have the ability to do a lot better than they have. And even if you don't want it for yourself, find somebody or something that you want to do it for. Because I think the most important thing is to understand why you do what you do. If you don't understand why you do what you do, when times get tough, you're going to give it away. Right? And I've been through a few tough times. I've done pretty well. I think up until 50, I hadn't done much at all. I'd had a really good mentor and hadn't listened to him because I was such an arrogant little shit. I knew it all already. And I taught it all to my clients, but I didn't need that stuff. Right? So it was really interesting. And when I was 50, I met a guy called Brad Sugars, who most of you will know, and 90% of you probably don't like him, but I'll always be grateful for what he did for me because he turned me upside down and gave me one hell of a shake and turned my life around totally. I went from being broke to I accumulated 46 properties in the next 5 years. So it sort of made a real difference to my life and my kids' lives and everybody around me. I now have the ability to fund anything I want to fund. Right? So it puts me in a very envious position. And when I retired, I built that after I left Brad in 2007. We built that organisation within a year. Right? 19 companies under one umbrella. And we used to call it wallet share. When you walked in the room, we took all your money, not just some of it. And we did it as a result of a lot of seminars and workshops I'd done, where I put 3,800 people through at a cost of 10 grand a head over a 3-year period. But I realised that everybody that went through the workshop wanted to be rich, but 95% only wanted to be rich if we did it for them. So we built an organisation to do it for them. And I looked at it finally and went, this is just a waste of time. Because by the time we spent the money doing it for them, they weren't really getting any better return than I'd get if they got into the marketplace. So I've sold out of that about 12 years ago, retired, got bored, and now I do a couple of deals a month with people that I want to deal with. So a whole lot of difference between where I was and where I am now. That's the better half of the family, my partner and her daughter. The bottom reprobates are mine. My daughter would scream if she saw that photo. It was at her daughter's wedding and down in Adelaide, and I think she was about 4 sheets to the wind at the time. But, and the other little reprobate on the left is my son. He retired at 28 and he looks pretty average. He actually had shoes on his feet there, and I said to him, so tell me, did you go and buy a pair of shoes? And he went, no, borrowed them. And he's like that. But the little bugger's worth somewhere around about $6 million with an income in excess of $200,000 a year. Yeah. So, and he was just a motor mechanic, and he did it in 10 years. Now, I understand the process. I taught him the process, and it is just a process. And sometimes I would like him to do a bit more than he's doing, but if I push him a bit, he says, I don't need it, Dad. What do I need the stress for? Right? And he lives off the grid and lives a pretty basic lifestyle with a couple of boys that have been brought up really well. Right? So, interesting. I trademarked this about 20 years ago. It's a process on how to build real wealth. Right? And it starts off with your foundations, like any other building. Get some positive cash flow property. When you get some positive cash flow, then start branching out. The mistake I see a lot of people do, they don't understand how to build a proper structure. And the number of clients I run into that go, oh, my bank won't lend me any more money. Right? And it's because they haven't ever built a proper structure. Right? And over the years, I've discovered there's really only 7 ways to make real money out of real estate. Right? And I know you can go and buy a house and you can pay it off over 30 years and end up with a property to retire on, and to me that's just going to stuff up your pension. Right? If you haven't got at least 3, you're not even going to survive. 4 will make you comfortable, and that's less than 1% of the investors in Australia achieve that. Right? Because their reason for buying is generally not sound enough to go out and buy something. Right? So we've had the most growth we've had recently in the last 50 years. And the number of people I meet that turn around and say, oh, I've been pushed out of the marketplace, or something's gone wrong in the business, or they've had a disastrous divorce where they've got enough out of a property settlement, but it's not enough to get back into the business. Sorry. And I started looking at it because I don't know how many people on the Gold Coast there are, but I think 50% of the people I meet aren't in the marketplace and can't get back into the marketplace. So I put my heads together with a few mates, and we've worked out a way to actually allow people that haven't got sufficient income or sufficient deposit to get back into the marketplace. It's a pretty straightforward process. It took an awful lot to get it out of the solicitors. It took me 9 weeks, but we've managed to set it up and it's working well. Right? So it's not get rich quick, and it won't happen overnight, but it'll take 2 to 3 years to take you from where you're sitting there saying, I've got 50, 60, 100 grand and can't get back in, to where you'll have $300,000 or $400,000, but more importantly, the borrowing capacity to get back in. Right? The numbers so far are showing that if somebody starts with $300,000 worth of equity in a house, I can turn that into $1 million in 3 years. Right? And it's not what I know, it's who I know and the network I've built over the last 50 years. Right? So it makes it work. Right? They're the deals we're currently involved in. The numbers are pretty impressive. Right? Gympie, she's put 300 grand into it. It's just coming into the marketplace now. And those figures were when we first did it, we were talking 595. We've actually got it in the market at 680. Because when we started the project in May, that was the numbers we were given. The numbers we're being given now by the local agents is probably 680, 685. Second one in Maryborough, yeah, he's had to put a bit of money into that probably. So what's he put into it? He's put 360 into it to make 330. Right? The builder on that one's a bit slow. That's going to take 12 months. The Gympie one has taken from April till now, from when we first signed the contracts, and the landscaping's been done this week, so it's called back in the marketplace. It's a fairly quick turnaround. It's one at Coffs Harbour's been phenomenal. That's taken about $570 to get it out of the ground. $640,000 profit, and it's on the market for $985. Right? Arachula, we've just set those 2 up in the last couple of months. I got in there a bit early before the estate's even been started to be developed. There was no roads, no nothing, so you walk over a bit of paddock and go, yep, I can see what's going to be here. And the outlay's been a bit higher because we've had to use development funding, which is expensive. There's upfront fees plus a higher interest rate, but the returns to the client are still quite substantial. Right? What I'm using, the formula we've put together, our returns aren't that high, they're only about 50 to 60%, because we're using non-recourse lending where the people that are in the fund don't have to fund it. They don't have to have any borrowing capacity, no financials, no nothing. It's just put the money in the trust, sign the agreement and walk away. Right? So it's pretty effective. Right? Last night, I tuned into a webinar that a mate of mine was running. He was actually a client back in 2002. It's probably one of the best educational webinars I've seen for a long, long time. Right? And he pulled up a whole lot of latest stats and a few other things. The scary part is most of the stats haven't changed at all. In 1973, we were lecturing at Queensland University in money management, and we pulled some stats out on people, and out of 100 people at age 25, only 1 would end up rich. at age 65. 5 would still be working, and the rest were either dead or still relying on government support or pensions. And the only difference in those numbers, up to the numbers they showed me last night, still only 1 will be rich, 5 will still be working, and the only difference is less dead and more reliant on government pensions and handouts. Right? And it's unnecessary. It doesn't take much. I'm not a rocket scientist. It doesn't take much to work out how to make money. Right? But people don't do much in the way of planning. Right? They don't actually sit down and work out, where am I now? Where do I need to be? And what have I got to do to get there? Right? And it's a roadmap. And then all you do is don't do the shit that won't get you there. Right? It is that simple, but trying to stop people from doing stupid stuff because they see this nice, fancy little new toy that's out there and they want to get involved in it. And it's like, do what you're good at, forget about everything else. Right? I'm good at making money because I had a good teacher. He taught me how to create money. And you either earn it, or you make it, or you create it. Right? And less than 5% of the population understand how to create money. Everybody knows how to go and get a job and work. And some people know how to run a business, not many, but some people know how to run a business successfully and make money out of that. But not many people understand how to make 1 and 1 make 5. Right? And it's what I've done with the duplexes. And there's a whole lot of people out there at the present time flogging apartments because they've come on good. They've really come on in the last couple of months. Right? But I've tuned into some stats the other day where it was a 50-year look at apartments over the last 5 decades. Right? And I've never sold apartments because I don't believe in them. Right? I can't see any money in them. They're just a depreciating asset that's finally worth just land value. Right? And the results of that research, which was done by New South Wales University, point out very clearly apartments are about 30% behind houses over the last 50 years in growth stats. Right? So, yeah, the things that stop most people making money are the last things there: taxes, mortgage, bad debt, wrong team, lazy money and no procedures. Taxes, get yourself a good accountant. My income is reasonable, but I've limited my tax bill to about, I pay tax on about 60 grand a year because I've just got some structures that are pretty good. Your mortgage, get yourself some investment properties that are positively geared and pay the bloody thing off. Get rid of it. And you can dump it, a 30-year mortgage, you can dump in about 7 years if you know what you're doing. Right? And that leaves all that extra money for the rest of the other 23 years or whatever to accumulate. Most people don't start investing until they're 45 or 50. And that's disastrous because it costs them to start. We start our grandkids at 10, right, where they start to understand money. By 12, they have to buy food for the household and produce a meal 1 day a week. Right? And you say, oh, 12-year-old, yeah, they do well because they're helped along and have some time spent with them. Right? The wrong team around you. Look, I see people promoting all sorts of rubbish. I look at it and say it's rubbish, there's no money in this, right? I'm telling you, get off all right, I'm on my hobby horse. My lady always goes crook because I'm always on my hobby horse. But if you've got the right people around you, it's pretty simple to do. Right? And the lazy money, the money you've got tied up in your equity and your property without using it, it's like going into a fight with your hands tied behind your back. Right? So if you want to talk to me, I don't chase people, but if you want to talk to me, I'm happy to help anybody that needs a hand. Right? But I have a process that can change where you're at and what you're doing. Right? It's really simple. And you're all here trying to grow your business and make money. Understand where the real money is. Right? The business is only a part of it. Right? All right, thanks for your time, everybody.